What is the ideal distance to set up from a roosted gobbler? I'm going to stick with the 100-yard rule. I don't want to set up any closer than 100 yards from a roosted gobbler, no matter the time of year. If it's early season with a lack of foliage in the trees, or later in the season when we start to get a little bit more of a tree canopy, I really don't want to be any closer than 100 yards to that gobbler. Bad things can happen. You can bust your hunt before anything even starts. If you think you know where that bird is, stay put, listen for the bird. If it's still early enough in the morning and you can cut distance on that bird, not a lot, but proximity is huge. And I've said this so many times, proximity is huge. And I've said this with coyotes, I've said it with turkeys. Get as close as you can, but I don't want to be any closer than 100 yards to that roosted gobbler. The other reason for that is, who else is up in the tree that's not talking? You hear that one bird, there could be more, there's probably more, there's too many eyes up there. I don't want to be any closer than 100 yards. I really want to be set up in the dark before that gray light even occurs. I want to be set up, done, decoys out if I'm hunting with decoys on a field's edge. If I'm in the timber, no decoys at all, and I'm just listening for where that bird is. I don't want to be any closer than 100 yards. What's the biggest mistake hunters make before fly down? I think the biggest mistake hunters make before fly down is way too much calling. Way too much calling. You sound like a bird that's on the ground way before that bird's ready to fly down. Something's not quite right. That survival instinct is going to trigger a little bit. Something's not right. There's a bird very vocal on the ground. I don't call very much when I'm on the ground until it's light enough. We're past the gray light. It's bright enough for that bird to fly down. I want to sound like that first bird flying down, hitting the ground. I like to use this right here. Took a wing from a turkey, turned out a handle on the lathe, and just a wing. Flap it against the ground, flap it against the side of your leg, a little bit of slack in your camo pants, and just make that beating wing sound. You can do a fly down cackle with it, or just that wing. You're the first bird on the ground. I love to do that first thing in the morning. When you're calling first thing in the morning, little bits of tree talk. Super soft. I call very soft. Little bits of tree talk. Little bits of purrs. Some tree yelps. Super quiet. You're waking up in the morning. Picture yourself when you wake up in the morning. The alarm goes off. You don't jump out of bed. Your feet hit the ground and woohoo! It's going to be a great day. Yeah, some people might do that. The majority don't. You wake up, you stretch. You're waking up in the morning. You're doing the same thing that bird's doing when they're waking up in the morning. You wake up, little bits of quiet tree talk. That's what you want to sound like. That's what I want to target when I sound like when I wake up in the morning. Subtle tree talk. Little bits. You don't come right out of the gate, full stream, ripping calls. You're just waking up in the morning. So that's probably the biggest mistake that I hear hunters make before fly down. Way too much loud calling. Subtle calling. Let that tom know where you are, and then when it's time, fly down, you're on the ground, go ahead and give some yelps. Let him know you are on the ground. Optimistically, he hears you, he knows where you are, he comes to you. Excuse me. How should your calling differ before versus after fly down? I think going through these, there's going to be a lot of reiteration of things that I'm going to be saying. Calling differing before fly down, subtle. After you fly down, You're awake, you're vocal. That's when you're going to want to pick up the volume. And this is also going to be something of recognition of how much hen competition you have to deal with. Are you talking to him or are you talking to her? If you have a lot of hen competition, if you get that hen to open up her mouth, mock her, imitate her to the best of your ability, the same cadence of sound, but do it louder and make it last a little bit longer, and shut up. If she opens up her mouth again, cut her off. Be ready to call. Box call, pot call, diaphragm call, any turkey call you have. If you have hen competition, as soon as that hen opens up her mouth, cut her off, louder, more vocal, same cadence, but do it louder, but do it a little bit longer. So in your mind, you can picture you got in the last word. So she stopped talking, but you get those last few syllables in. After she shut up, you get in the last word, and then you shut up. If she comes looking for you, he is going to come in tow. Most optimistic scenario. What does it mean when a gobbler answers but won't commit early? Typically, what I see in that scenario, you've got hen competition. And when we communicate as a hen with any call, typically in nature, mentioned this before, we're actually doing it backwards. We are vocally communicating as a hen. The tom gobbles, the hen yelps, the hen has her cadence of tone, her calling sequence. When that tom gobbles in nature, the hen goes to the tom, and we're trying to do this backwards. So what does it mean when a gobbler answers but won't commit early? If we're calling, and then we have that gobble, but we don't hear any hens, I like to call it a courtesy gobble. He is just gobbling to that audible stimulus of a hen yelping, but he's got ladies. He has no reason to leave them. So in scenarios like that, birds are on the ground, they're not in the tree, and that bird gobbles. If I have room and proximity to cut distance, another scenario, if I can use vegetation, if I can use, a windbreak, a hedgerow, if I can use topography to mask my travel, to cut a little bit of a distance, especially in their direction of travel, to get ahead of them, that is going to absolutely help your success. Don't go where the turkeys were. Go in the direction and relocate to the direction of where the turkeys are moving towards. Getting a turkey to come back, not good. Getting a turkey to respond in a direction that it's moving towards, very good. Do hens change your fly down strategy? I honestly actually have a lot of fun with hen competition, because just said it previously, I'm not talking to him, I'm talking to her. Having hen competition is a time that I do get extremely vocal. It doesn't work all the time, but it's a lot of fun, and it's not wasted effort, where that tom has live hens, he has no reason to leave those hens. So as a caller, I want to ruffle the feathers of my competition, which is the live hen. If she opens up her mouth, I want to mock her, imitate her, same cadence of tone, but louder, longer. I want to get in the last word, and then I shut up. As soon as she opens up her mouth again, I'm going to give it right back to her. I literally want to ruffle her feathers, and if I can tick her off that bad, she comes in, he's going to come in behind her, He's going to follow his girlfriend. He has no reason to leave her. If I can tick off that female hen, bring her into my call because she's that ticked off, he's going to come in tow and potentially give me that shot. I love those vocal hens when there's toms out there. I'm not talking to him, I'm talking to her. When should you stay silent on the roost? New York, we can only hunt birds 30 minutes before sunrise until noon. So in the roost on the morning, I don't talk at all to birds when they're on the roost until I'm completely set up. I know I've cut proximity. I know where that bird's gobbling. I've gotten within my effective range of, I don't want to be any closer than 100 yards. I still get that bird to gobble, and I'm still going to shut up. I'm going to be quiet until after that gray light of the morning, until right at that time when we're getting really close to fly down. I want to sound like that first hen coming out of the roost onto the ground, a fly down cackle, cut, 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 cut. And potentially also throw out, or just throw out just that wing flap of that hen coming out of the tree, and then I'm gonna shut up. That wing flap right there has gotten so many birds to gobble and gotten so many birds to die to the gun just with that wing flap. So when should you stay silent on the roost? Every time prior to that gray light, be quiet. Me personally, I don't make a peep. I don't make a peep until it's getting real close to fly down. I want that tom to know I'm there. I want him to respond to me. He knows where I am. I know where he is. Then I want him to know that I'm on the ground, and then I'm vocal. And then I'll start picking up volume. I'm not going to rip yelps super loud at a bird when they're still up in the tree and when I'm still up in the tree. I'm going to get vocal after I've communicated I am a hen on the ground. What setup mistakes gets hunters busted at first light? Too close. You get too close to the roost. Do the best you can scouting previously, and if you're going in blind, keep distance. Keep as much distance as you possibly can of where you think those birds are roosted. Stay shadows, stay in the timber. Best possible path of least resistance. If there's a logging road, take the logging road. Try not to step on branches. Try to stay away from deer. If you, me personally, being a predator hunter, I have a thermal handheld binocular watching and looking, walking out into the turkey woods during the turkey season. I'm going to detour around deer because the last thing I want to happen is a deer to blow. That audible alarm from a deer is also signifying alarm for a turkey. Something's not right. I'm going to detour around deer. One of the biggest mistakes I personally think is getting too close to a roosting area and also not recognizing other audible alarms from other animals, especially white-tailed deer. When that deer blows, it's signifying an audible alarm, and that can also screw up your hunt before it even starts. If you have the opportunity to detour, move around deer, and deer use this to survive, which way is the wind blowing? Don't let your wind blow at the deer. Try to get around the deer. If it's pitch black out, you got a decent moon, I would feel more comfortable walking through a middle of a field to get around deer if I can actually see deer, to get into a timber's edge. as opposed to walking on the upwind side of deer, letting them blow and letting them smell me and signifying an audible alarm while turkeys are roosted. So, excuse me, diligent approach on every possible direction that you can possibly have, but getting too close to a roosting area, you're shooting yourself in the foot before it even started. What setup mistakes get hunters busted at first light? I'm going to say the same thing. Getting too close to those roosting areas where it's not legal shooting light and you still have about 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of I need to sit still and not move because I got too close to that roosting area and the bird is awake, it's on the limb, you can physically see it in the tree, you can't shoot it, it's not in your effective range. Legally, you could shoot a bird off of the roost 25 minutes before legal shooting light. I want to call that bird in. I want that bird on the ground. I want that bird to play the game. I don't want to say just because it's legal doesn't mean it's ethical. I want that bird to play the game. Don't get too close to the roost. And if you did get too close to the roost, you're shooting yourself in the foot before it even started. I literally just said that, but I think that's a big mistake hunters can make at first light, is just getting too close to the roost. You have to be so still and so diligent with your approach. You go through all of that work and you sit down. You've got about 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes of just no movement, no calling, no nothing, because you got accidentally too close to that roosting area. And then which way is that bird going to pitch? Keep that 100-yard rule. It's gonna exponentially increase your chances for success. How do you predict where a gobbler will land? Open. They're not graceful flyers. So open environment, open pitch down, topographical feature of where they're going to roost. If it's an incline like this, the bird walks uphill and pitches out. High probability that bird is not pitching all the way downhill. That bird is just going to pitch out and land at topographical feature. So there's a few properties that I've really keyed in on those annual roosting areas that have a valley, bird walks up, pitches out, roosts, and then it pitches right back out to where it flew out from. Kind of a path of least resistance, and it's a flight path of least resistance of open area. No vegetation, not a lot of undergrowth, a lot of good visibility. Those are areas that are very conducive for a bird to pitch out of a tree back onto the ground. And I like to put myself within 100 yards of those areas. I've had a lot of luck with that in the past. What's the best adjustment when a gobbler flies down away from you? Time. Give it some time. If he doesn't come back to the call, if he's audibly responsive and he's just giving those courtesy gobbles, there could be hens. He's traveling with the hens. He's walking with the hens. He's not going to leave the hens. And if you have room to adjust, let that tom go. What direction is he going in? Pack it up, move, use topographical features, do a big loop around him. Always try to get ahead of where the birds are going. Don't hunt the bird, hunt where the bird's going. Get that path of direction of travel and try your best to get ahead of that bird. That's where you're going to have the best success calling that bird in. When should you okay, same exact scenario. When should you reposition after fly down? Exactly what I just said. If that bird is not committed and coming to you, direction of travel and relocate if and only if the topography dictates you can move. If that scenario doesn't work, sit down, keep quiet, call every now and then. If those birds are just gone, go ahead and leave. Take that information, apply it to the next day. Which way did they go? That's where you want to be the next day. So every day of failed hunting is also scouting. What did they do this day? What did they do this day? The third day, they're probably going to do the same thing. That's where you want to get to before they get there. This next one. How do you handle multiple gobblers on the roost? So I'm still going to treat that one gobbler like I'm going to treat multiple gobblers on the roost. I'm going to same exact tactic. I'm not going to call it gray light. I'm going to listen to the birds. How many toms are there? If I can hear that higher pitch cackling of a jake, how much hen competition do I have? Now, if after fly down, I've done my fly down, toms are on the ground. If I have multiple birds coming to my call, multiple mature toms coming to my call, this is something that I've talked about in the past before, and I've talked about this with other hunters, and the majority agree with me. If you have that one dominant bird that comes into your decoys or comes to your call, but you have a couple other birds that are subdominant, but they're still of the same age class, you're always going to have that hierarchy, that pecking order within birds. If you have that most mature bird that commits and just bulldozes and no cares given, comes to the decoys, comes to your call, but that second one, that less dominant bird is behind, that's the bird I'm going to shoot. And there's a reason for this. That first bird was so easy to get to come to the call. That second bird was a little hesitant. Now, that has to do with survival instinct, but also hierarchy. If I take that second bird that's less aggressive and I shoot that bird, that first one that came in is going to be so much more susceptible to come to your call the next time you go to the property. We're allowed to kill 2 birds in New York, and if you want to hunt the same property twice, if you're limited on property to hunt, don't shoot that mature strutting bird that comes into your decoy spread. That's just, he's the tough guy. But if you can identify the same age class of mature bird, but the pecking order dictates he's not king of the crop, that's the bird you're gonna want to shoot. Still has the same great beard, still has the same, turkey spur length. It's the same age class. Shoot the second bird, because that first one is going to be so much more susceptible to come to a call the next time you go to the property. Alrighty. What's the best move when everything goes wrong at fly down? Oh man, everything that goes wrong at fly down. So we actually hunted a bird across the road from me, and we nicknamed this bird Poof Ball, because he looked like a poof ball. He didn't strut. He tried to strut, but he had some sort of physical injury where his tail fan just kind of dragged on the ground, but he would poof up, his body would be in full strut. He just looked like a cotton ball with no tail fan, and he was a super mature bird, really long beard. We put binoculars on him. You could see really nice spur length, really nice bird. Definitely had some sort of physical injury that he couldn't lift and pick up his tail fan and actually come to full strut. He was trying really, really, really hard. So one of the scenarios that went wrong at fly down, we came up with this game plan, and it was kind of a coin toss. Sometimes they would pitch off of the roost and go to the high side. Sometimes they would pitch over the ravine and then walk downhill and head to the east. So it seemed like every time my partner Andy and I would pick one side, they would do the other thing. And it was honestly, I don't think it was anything that we were doing wrong. It was just coincidence. So we came up with this scenario of, all right, at this particular time, we knew exactly within minutes what time these birds were flying out of the trees. So at this particular time, no calling. We are not calling at all. What I would do from the high side, I took my fly down wing fan, and as soon as I hit that time, I got that bird to gobble. And 100% that bird responded to just the flapping of the wing, whacking it against my camo pants. And then I shut up. Zero calling at all. And that bird did exactly what we wanted it to. It pitched down out of the roost and it went right towards my partner Andy. It was just something that we wanted to try, of just something different. It went completely opposite from where I was. Now we're also thinking about, did we actually pressure that bird? I think we actually did pressure that bird. And after the few times we hunted it, recognized these birds are going the opposite way from where we are. We'd still have a diligent approach. We're coming in the dark. We're remaining silent. No decoys, little bits of tree talk. Like, we feel we're doing everything right. So we tried something different. Tree talk, they're gobbling. We didn't do anything at all. Andy's on the downside. I'm on the upside. And as soon as the time hit right at that perfect time, I did just a fly down, and we waited, and I watched that bird in the binoculars fly right off the roost, right down towards Andy, and no gunshot. Nothing. I'm waiting. Then I can actually hear Andy call a little bit. No gunshot. Nothing. And then I get a text from Andy, and we actually had a coyote that ran right in between us. And that is one of the number one calls. We can't hunt coyotes in New York during the turkey season. We can only hunt coyotes from basically October 1st to the end of March, 6 months out of the year. Turkey season's here. Cannot shoot coyotes here in New York. This is one call that Andy and I have come to a conclusion that calls in a lot of coyotes. Just that wing flap. When that bird flies off of the roost and hits the ground, if there's a coyote within proximity, we have called in so many coyotes that have come running in just to that wing flap, because that bird hits the ground very susceptible to a predation attack from a coyote. It's a little disoriented, didn't see a coyote, and we kind of gathered a lot of information of just that wing flap, that bird coming out of the tree, hitting the ground, and then poof, getting dusted by a running coyote. So what's the best move when everything goes wrong at fly down? Got a little sidetracked there. The best move when everything goes wrong at fly down, that happened with that scenario with the coyote that came through after we did the fly down. The best scenario we have after that is, can't repeat it enough. Wait, be patient. Nothing's responding to your call. Pack it up, move, relocate. Try to get ahead of the birds. And if you have permission on the property you're hunting on, if you have permission to get ahead of the birds in the direction of travel. And this is, if you're lazy, it's not for you. You got to put boots on the ground and you got to go for a big, long loop to get ahead of those birds. Last one. What separates a killable morning from a blown one? So a killable morning from a blown one: proximity, don't get too close to the roost, watch where there's deer, try to keep the deer away from your downwind. That audible alarm from a blowing deer is also going to signify danger to a wild turkey. So deer can also screw up your turkey hunt more than anything else, and I've learned that many a times, especially when I've been hunting with youth season, bringing my kids out, hunting out of a ground blind. I absolutely love hunting out of a ground blind with children. They have the freedom of movement, they can move around, but you're also stationary and you can't move. You can't get up and you can't relocate because you're stuck in a ground blind. If there's deer out there, they smell you, they're gonna blow, and game's over. And that's happened way too many times. So something that separates a killable morning from a blown one is proximity to the roost. Don't get too close. Watch what the deer are doing. Try to keep the deer away from your downwind side. And patience. Lots of patience with knowing when to call, knowing when not to call, knowing when to shut up. All of these things are going to take time for you to recognize as a hunter in the field. And if you're just new to this, mediocre turkey sounds will kill birds. But just don't continue to call. If you call, that turkey gobbles and cuts you off, he's probably coming. Just don't continue to call. Make that bird come look for you. So a lot of that is just going to be time in the field, boots on the ground, but just be super patient. The more patient you are, the more success you're going to have out there.